I thought taking her in was just a simple act of kindness, but time wove a web of love that caught us both. What began as pity ended with us leaning on each other. The gears of fate turned quietly, writing a beautiful story. She is my late friend's daughter. I am no saint. Taking her in was just out of pity, a whim to raise a stray. I never expected that stray would grow into a wolf that eventually targeted me. I went to a friend's funeral and came back with his school-aged daughter. I only planned to stay until the funeral ended and then leave. But seeing her surrounded by greedy relatives, I leaned against a tree to listen. These vultures were clearly plotting to steal her house and money. They claimed they would raise her until she was 18, acting as if they were doing her some grand favor. But they had no intention of giving her a single penny of her mother's inheritance. I glanced at the gentle, smiling face on the tombstone, silently cursing. You soft-hearted fool. I told you relatives couldn't be trusted. Now, look at them bullying your poor, orphaned daughter. Still, I had no plans to step in. Her mother was the one who helped me, not her, and I'm no saint. I was just curious to see what she'd do. Would she cry and beg them for mercy? But she just stood there with her head bowed, silent, disappointing. I brushed off my hands, ready to head home, when she suddenly looked up at me. Her eyes were red, filled with a fragile, defensive defiance. In that split second, I saw my younger self in her. I used to look exactly like Theta, stray dog ready to bite. We locked eyes, neither of us backing down. Hey, want to come live with me? I asked, raising an eyebrow with a smirk. The aggressive relatives finally noticed me standing there. A flash of unease crossed their faces before they flared up in anger, snapping that this was family business. I ignored them entirely. Walking up to the girl, my smile faded. I am your mother's friend. She helped me once so I can take you in. But, I paused, glaring at the greedy crowd. As for the inheritance they are stealing from you, you will have to take it back yourself. I won't help you with that. The relatives erupted shouting that I was talking nonsense, their ugly greed fully exposed. I ignored them and kept my eyes on her. Of course, you can stay with them if you want. It's your choice. In the end, she came home with me. But as soon as she settled into the guest room, a wave of regret hit me. My personal space had been invaded. I shouldn't have brought her back. Frustrated, I locked myself in the study to work on my design drafts. The next morning, a client's message woke me up. This was the first major project since launching our design studio. Calling it a studio was a stretch, though it was just me and my friend, Saorong Yu. The client was a nightmare, basically asking for a colorful shade of black. Luckily, they finally approved my revisions last night. Rubbing my stiff neck, I walked out of the study. A quiet figure sitting by the dining table startled me half to death. I snapped, genuinely annoyed. Why are you sitting there in the dark without making a sound? She froze, looking terrified by my sudden morning grumpiness. Trying to look composed, she pushed a piece of paper toward me. Sorry, I will be more careful. This is our agreement. Please take a look. Confused, I sat across from her and picked up the paper. I almost laughed out loud. The space for Party A was completely blank. Party B was listed as by Nick. The contract stated that all her high school tuition and living expenses would be paid back with interest 1 year after she graduated from college. I looked up from the paper and stared at the girl sitting across from me. How are you so sure you can pay this all back within a year of graduating? I asked. Raising a kid is expensive, and why only high school? Don't you need me to cover college? Bai Ningbing blushed deeply, stammering that we could always add a clause to the agreement. We can add that if I fail to pay on time, the interest doubles, she offered, quickly explaining. I promise I will pay you back. My grades are good. I can get college scholarships, and I'll work part-time on weekends during high school to cover my college expenses. I cut her off. This was getting ridiculous. It wasn't like I couldn't afford to support her. Besides, there are too many shady bosses out there exploiting student workers and stealing their wages. She didn't need to go through the same struggles I had to survive. Just focus on your studies. Forget about part-time jobs. I have enough money to support you, and there is no need for this agreement. Consider it paying back your mother. I tossed the paper on the table and got up to wash my face, but she stopped me. If you do not sign, I cannot stay here. I wanted to snap at her for being so stubborn, but then I saw the sheer determination in her eyes. Standing tall in the morning light, I realized this piece of paper was far more than just a debt agreement. It was her pride, the only thing she had left. I sat back down, picked up a pen, and signed my name, Fang Yuan. Watching her sigh with relief, I smiled. Clean yourself up, I said. We are going out for breakfast, and then to the supermarket. We need to buy your daily essentials. School starts in 2 weeks, so tell me whatever you need. I glanced at her. Those ungrateful relatives of yours have probably already moved into your house. Before we hit the store, I will drive you back there one last time. Get whatever belongings you can't leave behind. As for what to call me, you can just call me. I paused, struggling with our age gap. Uncle made me sound too old, but brother felt weird. She'll cut in. Fang Yuan, I can cook. We don't need to go out. With that, she headed toward the fridge. Sure, calling me by name is fine, I thought. But the next second she spun around, staring at me in utter shock. I forgot my fridge was stocked with absolutely nothing but alcohol. So we had to go out for breakfast anyway. After eating, we stopped by her old apartment. I stayed in the car. In less than 30 minutes, she came down carrying only her mother's photos, some books, and clothes. Her face was pale and her eyes red. The relatives surely said awful things, but I didn't comfort her. I had no obligation to baby her. Some things in life, you just have to face alone. At the supermarket, I sent her off to grab what she needed. While I waited at the checkout, suddenly Zhao Rongyu called, screaming so loudly I had to pull the phone away. "I need comfort," she wailed. I sighed. "Keep it down, or I'll sue you for hearing damage." "What is it this time?" "My dad tricked me into another blind date. We just had a massive fight." "Hey," she continued, "I am crashing in your guest room tonight." "No vacancy," I replied. "The guest room is occupied." "What? Comrade Fang Yuan, are you keeping a secret lover?" I rubbed my temples, exasperated by her wild imagination, and quickly gave her a brief rundown of how I ended up with a high schooler living with me. She gasped in sympathy on the other end, immediately insisting on treating Bai Ningbing to hot pot for lunch to cheer her up. When the girl finally checked out, she barely had any toiletries, but her cart was overflowing with fresh groceries. I gave her a questioning look. "I will handle the cooking from now on," she whispered. "Eating out is too expensive and unhealthy." The cashier gave us a very strange look, clearly misinterpreting our dynamic. I paid with a straight face. Back in the car, I told her about the lunch invitation. She had no objections and agreed. On our way, I silently prayed that Zhao Rongyu wouldn't say anything wildly inappropriate. When we walked into the restaurant, I spotted her waving like a maniac, her eyes lighting up the moment she saw the girl. I braced myself. I resignedly led her over to make the introductions. "Ningbing, this is your Aunt Zhao." The woman immediately protested. "Aunt, don't listen to him, sweetie. Call me Sister Zhao instead." To her delight, Bai Ningbing did exactly that, instantly winning her over with a polite nod. She then sent her off to get some dipping sauces, clearly wanting to talk to me alone. The moment the girl walked away, Zhao Rongyu leaned in with a dramatic, heartbroken sigh. "Comrade Fang Yuan, be honest. Did you only adopt her because she's so beautiful?" I stared at her like she was an idiot, sipping my water in silence. She leaned closer and whispered, "Wait, do you want to be her dad?" I choked, coughing and nearly spraying water everywhere. She panicked, frantically tossing me a tissue. "I was just joking. You hate trouble more than anyone," she reasoned. "Don't tell me it is just about repayment. You keep things strictly transactional. You wouldn't raise a kid just because her mom helped you years ago." She was right. I wouldn't. So why on earth did I bring her home? Was it because I saw my younger self in her eyes that day? I had no idea. When she returned with the sauces, we quickly changed the subject. For the rest of lunch, Zhao Rongyu kept the conversation flowing, making sure there wasn't a single awkward silence. She kept teasing the poor girl, who blushed crimson several times. Before we got into the car, Zhao Rongyu pulled me aside, looking at her in the passenger seat. "I don't know why you took her in, and I won't pry," she murmured. "But parenting is hard work. If you ever need anything, just call me. Don't try to carry this burden all on your own. Okay?" I drawled, "Yes, ma'am, whatever you say." "Aunt Zhao," she glared at me but let it go. Before heading home, I drove to a furniture store to order some things. I bought a wardrobe and a study desk to be delivered. The guest room was officially a space nap. Once everything was set up, I went to take a nap, leaving her to settle in. That evening, the rich aroma of dinner woke me up. I staggered into the living room. Under the warm glow of the lamp, she was busy carrying dishes out of the kitchen. Staring at the feast spread across the table, I looked at her in complete disbelief. Did I adopt a fairy godmother? Blushing, she whispered, "I didn't know what you liked, so I made everything. I made too much by mistake. Sorry." I waved it off, still dazed as I sat down. So this is what having home-cooked meals felt like. Over the next few weeks, we barely spoke. Most of my days were spent locked inside my study, drawing up new designs. Sometimes I went to the studio to meet clients with Zhao Rong. Otherwise, our apartment was spotless now, and a few green plants appeared on the balcony. 2 weeks flew by, and it was time for school to start. I drove her to register at her high school. At the office, her teacher mentioned she ranked first in her entire grade last semester, so this was her definition of pretty good. I glanced at her blushing ears. Her back held just a bit straighter. It was highly amusing. She looked like a proud kitten waiting for praise. Since school was close, we decided she would commute. I bought her a bicycle the next day and she officially kicked off her junior year. Meanwhile, I poured all my energy back into our studio. In the blink of an eye, the autumn holidays rolled around. I never expected to fall violently ill on day one. I had been pushing myself too hard with work, and relaxing finally broke my system. Her school organized a training camp, so she left early and would be gone all week. I grabbed some random pills from the cabinet, I swallowed them with cold water and went back to bed, completely out of it. When I woke up again, coughing, I heard a faint rustling in the living room, forcing my heavy eyelids open. I grabbed a thick book and crept quietly toward the noise. Locking eyes with him in the living room, I awkwardly lowered my book, Why was Bai Ningbing back? Before I could ask, he walked over, face tense, holding a thermometer. Totally dazed. I just watched him have a fever, he said, his face darkening as he read the thermometer. No wonder my entire body ached. Why are you back anyway? He tossed the thermometer into a drawer, checked the medicine on the table, and replied, forgot a book. Saw the medicine, figured you was sick. I skipped training to stay. I frowned, telling him I could handle myself and to get back to camp. But he just picked up my cold cup of water. By drinking this and popping random pills, I was speechless. For a second, he felt like the parent. No fever meds left. I'm going out to buy some. Drink the warm water in the kitchen. He grabbed his keys and left. Sitting on the couch, my mind drifted. Years ago, I went to the hospital alone for emergency appendicitis surgery. Hospitalized all alone. When my friend Zhao Rongyu found out, he was tearful. Upset I didn't lean on him, but I just don't do dependence. I avoid intimacy at all costs. The click of the front door snapped me out of my thoughts. Bai Ningbing walked in, panting, fine beads of sweat on his forehead. He had run all the way. He poured me a fresh cup of hot water, knelt down, and carefully read the medicine label. I just watched him, my face completely blank. Being cared for felt entirely foreign to me. Ultimately, he skipped the training camp. Under his strict supervision, I recovered quickly. I urged him to go hang out with his friends during the break, but he just shook his head and chose to stay home with me. Sometimes we went grocery shopping, or drew the curtains to watch old movies in the middle of the day. After dinner, we'd stroll through the garden downstairs. Still, we barely spoke. On the very last day of the holidays, everything changed. Zhao Rongyu showed up at my door, clutching hot pot ingredients, looking completely drained. His first words were, his back. He meant Chun Hansheng, our college classmate, though Rongyu would never admit it. Hansheng was the real reason he'd avoided dating all these years. As a bystander, I saw right through their messy history, but I kept my mouth shut. Since neither Rongyu nor I could cook, Bai Ningbing ended up taking over the kitchen. Rongyu trailed right behind him, heading straight for the fridge. He opened it to grab a drink only to find nothing but groceries. Where's your stash? He asked, turning to me. Bai Ningbing grabbed a low-alcohol bottle from the cabinet and handed it. Over, he just recovered from a fever. No heavy drinking. My heart skipped a beat as I glanced at Rongyu nervously. Right on cue, he started lecturing me for hiding my illness again. I quickly played it down as a minor cold, but staring at the kitchen, I couldn't help but wonder if Ningbing did that on purpose. To change the subject, I asked, did Chun Hansheng reach out to you? Rongyu took a swig of his drink, looking miserably cold. Said he wants to get back together. He slammed his glass onto the table. Who does he think he is? Why does he assume I'm just waiting around for him? Seeing him play it cool, I reached out. Give me a phone, then I'll call him and tell him to get lost forever. He froze, caught completely off guard. Then, like a guilty hamster, he clutched the phone to his chest. Why are you picking on me too? I sighed. I just want you to face your real feelings. But he left for years without a word. He can't just expect me to forget that. I can't just act like those missing years never happened. He choked out, head hanging low. I sat down and patted his shoulder. Fine, put him to the test then. By the time Ningbing served the hot pot, Rongyu had already polished off a whole bottle. At the table, he insisted on dragging Ningbing into his drinking session. I laughed helplessly. He's still a kid. Leave him be. Rongyu waved it off. He's almost 18. A little drink won't kill him. Don't be such a buzzkill, Fang Yuan. I watched in disbelief as Ningbing quietly pushed his glass forward anyway. Fine. I was done arguing. That dinner dragged on forever. Though Rongyu laughed and joked the entire time, I knew he was hurting inside. He had cared so deeply for Chun Hansheng. Hansheng's departure had shattered him, yet he still waited all those years. By the end of the night, Ningbing was visibly tipsy, and Rongyu was throwing a full-blown drunk tantrum, demanding that Chun Hansheng come pick him up. Staring at these two drunkards, my temples throbbed with pain. I managed to herd Ningbing to his room first. Before crashing, he kept muttering that I shouldn't touch the dishes, promising he'd wash them tomorrow. I laughed, amused by his nagging old soul nature. Back in the living room, are you absolutely sure you want to call him right now? I asked. Rongyu finally went quiet. After a long silence, he whispered, I really miss him. I looked at him softly. Okay, I get it. I took his phone and dialed Chun Hansheng's number. I gave him my address and waited with Rongyu. About half an hour later, the doorbell rang. Rongyu bolted upright, frantically gulped down another shot, and quickly slumped back onto the couch. Shaking my head at his antics, I went to open the door. The man standing outside seemed even more distant than I remembered, though his eyes betrayed his panic. We exchanged quick nods, and I stepped aside. He rushed over to Rongyu immediately, pulling him into a tight, protective embrace. He whispered Rongyu's name softly, his usual cold exterior melting into a warmth meant only for him. Watching them from the entryway, I felt a rush of nostalgia. Back in college, Rongyu would constantly fake being drunk just so I'd call Hansheng to rescue her, and that aloof boy would always rush over, coaxing his tipsy girl with infinite patience. Seeing them now felt like stepping into a time machine. Nothing had changed. As Hanshan gathered Rongyu in his arms to head toward the door, I looked at them. I stared at Rongyu, who was clearly still faking unconsciousness, and finally spoke up. Chun Hansheng is my best friend. This is the absolute last time I help you out. They both knew exactly what I meant. Hansheng turned to me. Thank you. I waved him off and shut the door. The next morning at the studio, Rongyu showed up incredibly late with a very obvious mark on his neck. I just smirked, saying absolutely nothing, which made him mutter defensively to cover his tracks. I haven't officially agreed yet, he grumbled, but we both knew it was inevitable. They were just playing a game with a pre-written ending. Honestly, I envied his courage trusting someone enough to hand them his heart, unlike me, who felt completely incapable of love. With our studio finally thriving, I found myself with a lot of free time. Whenever Ningbeng was at school, I'd wander down to the subway station alone, watching the bustling crowds and trying to guess what was running through their minds. For me, time felt simultaneously frozen and in fast. Soon, New Year's Eve arrived. Right before I received an unexpected phone call, I was at the supermarket grabbing some flour. Ningbing had recently found out from Rongyu that my absolute favorite food was crispy fried pork. He'd secretly learned how to make it just to surprise me tonight. Since we were out of flour and he couldn't leave the stove unattended, he sent me on a quick run. That's when my father called. I had no idea how he even got my number. He kept it brief. Your stepmother found a letter your mom left behind. Come pick it up. Then he hung up. The woman he called aunt was actually my stepmother who moved in when I wasn't even 10. After shooting Ningbeng a quick text, I drove over to that house. My stepmother opened the door, but I stayed firmly on the threshold. My father stormed over, his voice dripping with hostility. Can't you even greet your elders? He snapped. Fighting the urge to walk away, I demanded the letter. Sensing the rising tension, the woman rushed back inside and returned with the envelope, her eyes desperate to please. Stay for dinner, she asked. Out of patience, I snatched the letter and turned on my heel. Behind me, my father roared. Why invite him? I don't even have a son anyway. I didn't stop. It wasn't until I got to my car that I noticed my hands shaking. Unfolding the letter felt like it was happening in slow motion, until her familiar handwriting appeared. Yuan, please don't carry the burden of what happened between us. I instantly folded it back up, completely losing my courage. Suddenly I felt like laughing, and then I did, laughing hysterically. My mother was a gentle, educated woman while my father was just a greedy businessman. He fell in love at first sight and pursued her relentlessly, but she only married him because my grandmother forced her hand. At first he treated her like a queen, and we actually had a happy family for a while. But as her health declined, he began sleeping around. When she begged for a divorce, he refused, dragging her through years of absolute misery. As her illness worsened and she was hospitalized, he grew even bolder, bringing his mistresses straight into our home. On the day she went into critical condition, I sat alone outside the operating room, desperately calling his phone over and over, my texts begging him to come went completely unanswered. Eventually, my phone died. When the red light turned off, she was wheeled out under a white sheet. The nurse kept asking me where my father was, but I had no answer. I said nothing, just staring blankly as she was wheeled away, my eyes burning. When he finally showed up, he had a fresh hickey on his neck. While she was dying on that table, he was in bed with another woman. I couldn't comprehend how someone who supposedly loved her could change so fast. Less than a month after her death, he announced he was marrying her. When I protested, he told me to get out. My grandparents had already passed away. I turned to my mother's side of the family for help, but my father had easily bought them all off. On the day of his wedding, I packed my things and ran away. I was 16, and I never looked back. To survive, I worked endless odd jobs. Shady bosses loved hiring minors because we were cheap and easy to bully. Those years were brutal, but I scraped by. That was until I met Ningbing's mother, a truly kind soul. She ignored my defensive walls and pulled me out of the mud, sponsoring my education. Ningbing, the memory faded. He was still waiting for me at home with dinner. I tucked the letter away and drove fast, eager to get back. Coming home, I locked eyes with Ningbing standing under the warm living room light. He stared silently for a long moment, then slipped into the kitchen to heat up dinner. I was glad he asked nothing. Afterward, we sat on the couch in silence, ignoring the Spring Festival gala on TV. Doing absolutely nothing felt way too lonely, so I had him shuffle some random music on his phone. We sat there listening in quiet comfort. At midnight, fireworks erupted outside the window, while a completely unfamiliar song began to play. A woman sang about how people come and go, and how the only constant is that everyone changes. Ningbing later told me it was called passing through this world. Not long after the new semester started, I noticed he was acting strange. Lately, he would come home looking like he wanted to say something, but he always looked away when I caught him. This went on until Thursday night. Stepping out of the bathroom, I felt his eyes on me from the living room. It was getting hard to ignore. With my direct personality, I turned on my heel, drying my wet hair as I walked over. Speak up, what is it? Ningbing shrank back, stammering that it was nothing. I clicked my tongue. If it is nothing, Stop sneaking glances. It is annoying. Now, spill it. What is going on? He lowered his head and mumbled. There is a parent-teacher meeting tomorrow. I blinked, so he had been stressing over this for days. I did not mind going, but I had to meet someone tomorrow. My hesitation made me go quiet. He noticed my hesitation and quietly offered an out, saying it was fine and he knew I was busy, but he wanted me there. Otherwise, he wouldn't have agonized over it. Realizing this, I asked what time it was. His eyes instantly lit up. 10 in the morning, he said quickly. You can sleep in since I do not have early classes. We can head out together. A stray water droplet slid down my collarbone, feeling a bit chilly. Suddenly Ningbing looked away, his face blushing red. I burst out laughing. I leaned in to tease him, pointing out how red his face was. He scrambled up, stammering about studying, and clumsily bolted to his room. Touching the damp spot on my collarbone, my smile faded. Ningbing, I thought, you do not owe me anything. The footsteps paused in the hallway, then continued. The next day Ningbing led me to his classroom and left. I sat bored in his seat, flipping through his textbooks, while waiting for the meeting to start. Suddenly, a shrill voice echoed from behind me. Oh, I wonder what tricks some people used to charm our Ningbing into abandoning his own home. I turned around to find a heavily made-up woman sneering in my direction. I was genuinely confused. When did I ever cross someone like her? She turned to the person next to her, speaking loudly enough for the whole room to hear. First his dad passed, now his mom. As his aunt, I offered to raise him, but then this outsider showed up and completely cast a spell on him. Who knows what their relationship really is? Naturally, everyone's gaze shifted toward me. I did not care about myself, but Ningbing did not deserve this baseless gossip. I quickly recalled the faces from the cemetery that day and scanned her coldly. You are being very loud, I said, cutting her off. At the cemetery, when you all cornered Ningbing to make a choice, I was right there as his mother's friend. You claimed you wanted to raise him, but your real intentions were crystal clear. You just wanted to swallow the inheritance his mother left him. What a loving aunt you are. The woman panicked, screeching about what nonsense an outsider was spewing. I smirked, pulling out my phone. Actually, I recorded everything we discussed that day. She panicked and lunged to grab my phone, but I easily dodged her. Just then, the teacher walked in. Taking a relieved breath, she muttered that she did not have time to argue with me and quickly scurried back to her seat. I acted generous and let it go, but inside, I breathed a sigh of relief. I had not recorded a thing. It was a complete bluff, but her desperate grab spoke volumes. Now, anyone with eyes could see through her act. Once the meeting started, she behaved herself. When the teacher praised Ningbing for ranking first in the school on finals, I turned and flashed her a smug smile. She glared back, absolutely fuming. Once the meeting wrapped up, his aunt bolted. As the crowd thinned, I got up to leave, only to be blocked by a teenage boy. He seemed to be gathering his courage. Is what his aunt said true? Are you and Ningbing in that kind of relationship? His young voice trembled but remained direct. He was demanding an answer, leaning against a desk. I smiled and asked if he liked Ningbing or wanted to be friends. His face turned red, but he stayed silent. I stood up, my voice turning firm. Basing your judgments on cheap gossip is foolish. If you truly like him or want to be his friend, you should approach him openly. Do not try to figure him out behind his back through others. Seeing the boy's face turn instantly pale, my heart softened a bit. We are not what you think. I am just his mother's friend. I know you mean no harm, but never try to know someone through other people's gossip. I walked past him, realized I had lost too much time, and pulled out my phone. I wanted to text Ningbing that I had to go, but I saw him standing right at the corner. He had heard everything. The boy panicked and bolted. Youth is so precious, I thought, looking at Ningbing's completely unbothered face. I teased him, asking if he was going to chase his little boyfriend. He shot me an unreadable look and muttered, childish. I often feel like I do not truly understand him. Sometimes he seems vulnerable, but other times, he shows a sudden maturity. He has this sharp, mature side that feels like the real him. Oh well, no time to over. I told him I had to run and hurry toward the parking lot. Within seconds I heard footsteps catching up behind me. Why are you following me? Don't you have class? I turned around in confusion. Ningbing cut up to walk beside me, explaining they got the afternoon off. Go home then, I began, but he interrupted, asking where I was going and if he could join. He was acting weirdly clingy today. Leaning in with a mysterious grin, I asked if he knew how to play chess. Close up, I saw a flash of panic and confusion in his eyes, but he nodded. So, I unlocked the car. I drove him to the nursing home to visit my old university professor. On the way I called ahead. The old man was still holding a grudge about my absence, so the nurse answered. I could hear him yelling in the background. He kept shouting for me to stay away. I smiled helplessly and told the nurse we would arrive in 30 minutes. Ningbing stared quietly out the window, completely trusting me. In his room, the stubborn old professor kept his back turned to us. I rubbed my temples and announced dramatically that his favorite student had arrived. His shoulders twitched, and he turned around with a scowl, claiming he did not have such a thick-skinned student. I pushed Ningbing forward, smiling sweetly. He knows how to play chess, I said. Instantly, the professor's eyes lit up. He had no kids and never remarried after his wife passed, leaving chess as his only joy. I was completely hopeless at it despite his best efforts to teach me. He had given up on me. The old man was stubborn, always wanting company but acting grumpy when I arrived. I watched them play for a few minutes, then slipped away to check on his health with the doctor and pay his fees. I prepaid a year of his fees, though he would scold me if he found out. I drove to his favorite soup spot to grab lunch. Back in the room, the two were still locked in battle. The professor was frowning deeply in thought. Ningbing looked completely relaxed. Nowhere was he actually beating the professor. As I set up lunch, the aroma of soup caught his attention. "Ningbing, let's eat first," he said. I smiled, amazed at how close they had gotten so quickly. I glanced at Ningbing, who gave me a proud little smile. They finished the game in a draw, and then we wheeled the professor out for some sun. When a breeze picked up, the stubborn old man refused to go back inside. He sent Ningbing back to grab a blanket. Watching him go, the old man suddenly murmured that the boy was wonderful. I laughed, pointing out they had only met a few hours ago. He replied solemnly that chess reveals a person's character. His game is calm and he has no underhanded tricks. He treats others with quiet dignity, though he seems tense around you. He told me everything. It is a beautiful circle of fate, since his mother once helped you, and now you help him. Knowing he is around makes me feel at ease. Caught off guard by his sudden sentiment, I joked about being jealous of his high praise. He clicked his tongue and began nagging about my long absence. In the distance, Ningbing walked back. He was carrying a blanket and my jacket. The old man gave me a knowing look, repeating that the boy was wonderful. I stayed silent. The professor dragged him into more games, and we ended up staying for dinner at the home. Only then did the old man reluctantly let him go. Ningbing has a gift for winning people over, like Zhao Rongyu and the professor. I am different. If not for his mother's persistence and Zhao Rongyu's thick skin, I would be completely alone. And the professor's nagging, I would still be a complete loner. On our drive back, the old man called. I put him on speaker but immediately regretted it as his angry voice filled the car. "Did you pay my fees again?" he yelled. "I told you I have money. Keep your hard-earned cash. I will have them refund you tomorrow." I pulled the car over and cleared my throat. "I know you have money, Professor, but that doesn't mean I cannot spend mine on you. Back in college, I ate so many of your wife's meals without paying. Think of this as paying her back." "Nonsense," he yelled, his voice cracking. "Whose meals are that expensive? If she knew, she would scold me to death." I stayed silent. I let him yell, but when he threatened to demand a refund again, I stubbornly countered. "If you do that, I will never bring Ningbing to play chess with you again." Silence stretched for a few seconds before he slammed the phone down. Ningbing burst out laughing, and a second later, I did too. A few days later, I obediently returned to the home to take another scolding. After much coaxing, I finally smoothed things over. Before I left, he insisted I'd bring Ningbing next time. By the second semester of her sophomore year, Ningbing's workload had grown much heavier. At the last parent-teacher meeting, everyone had taped their dream university to their desks. Hers was the country's top law school. Although I never pressured her about school, she was charging toward her goal with fierce determination. I took her to the sanatorium a few times as the weather grew hotter. If Zhao Rongyu hadn't called about vacation plans, I would have forgotten summer break was almost here. "Come on, big bro, bring Ningbing and join me. You love surfing, and she needs to unwind." I glanced at Ningbing peeling fruit by the coffee table, leaned back on the couch, and sighed. "It's too hot to move this year." Zhao Rongyu wailed on the other end. "With your perfectly toned body, keeping it covered is a total crime." She practically shrieked it. I was certain Ningbing heard, because her ears flushed red. Then she handed me a peeled orange and whispered coaxingly, "Go on, let's go." Seeing Chun Hansheng behind her at the airport didn't surprise me. Zhao Rongyu pulled me aside, whispering, "That man is terrifying. He showed up at my door at dawn with his suitcase, saying he was coming to." I looked at Chun Hansheng, who noticed my gaze and put his hands behind his back, acting pitiful. "I just got back and don't have friends. Mind if I join?" Hearing this, Zhao Rongyu exploded. "Oh, keep playing dumb." I couldn't help but laugh. "Let's all go. The more, the merrier." Ningbing only greeted them at first, then quietly handled our luggage. Zhao Rongyu leaned in, whispering mischievously, "Is it just me, or is Ningbing becoming more and more, well, how should I put it, beautiful and mature?" When you two walked over, all I thought was how perfect you looked together. "Have some decency, Auntie Rongyu," I sighed. Annoyed, she rolled her eyes and snapped, "You really are a fossil." Then she turned away, ignoring me. I suddenly remembered that night. Ningbing had softly said, "Go on." I had taken the orange from her as usual, only to hear her tease, "No free meals, you know." Somehow, that was what made me agree. After boarding, Chun Hansheng somehow managed to swap seats to sit next to Zhao Rong. Listening to her throw a tantrum while he gently coaxed her, I drifted off. The bump of landing woke me. Opening my eyes dazed, I realized I had leaned onto Ningbing's shoulder. Before I could react, she noticed me moving and leaned in. Her warm breath brushed my ear as she whispered, "Awake, we're here, too close." I sat up straight instantly, my heart pounding probably from the sudden gravity shift of landing. "What is it?" Ningbing looked at me intently. I avoided her gaze and shook my head. Walking out, seeing Zhao Rongyu and Chun Hansheng both rubbing their sore shoulders, Ningbing and I shared a silent understanding without a word. At the hotel, Zhao Rongyu booked 2 rooms. Originally, she and Ningbing were sharing, while I had my own, but with Chun Hansheng here, he booked his own room, looking at her head. Yet, she was too absorbed in the excitement of the trip, walking ahead arm in arm with Ning. Chun Hansheng trailed behind, looking defeated. I thought about it, turned, and cleared my throat. "Chun Hansheng, is your stomach acting up again?" He looked blank for a second, then quickly caught on. Clutching his stomach, he whimpered weakly to Zhao Rongyu. "Yes, it hurts so much." Her face fell. She rushed to support him, worriedly asking, "How did your stomach suddenly start hurting? Did you bring medicine?" He leaned into her embrace, clutching her collar. Instead of answering, he just whimpered softly. I chimed in right on cue. "Rongyu, you should stay with him to look after him. Get some rest, and we'll head out in the evening." Zhao Rongyu looked at him and agreed. Since we were on the same floor, we dropped them off first. As Ningbing and I walked to our rooms across from each other, she suddenly whispered, "You guys are tricking Sister Rongyu, aren't you?" I put a finger to my lips, smiling. "Secret." I fell asleep again. When I woke up, the room was bathed in the golden sunset. Ningbing called to say the others were already waiting in the lobby. After a quick tiddy-up, I headed down with her. Seeing me, Zhao Rongyu snorted mysteriously, then dragged Ningbing ahead. I looked back in confusion at Chun Hansheng, who trailed behind. He gave me a helpless smile, explaining I confessed that I was faking the stomachache. "He is great in every way, but sometimes he's just a bit too honest. Tonight's dinner is on me, to make it up to you guys. Eating seafood is a must in a coastal city." We found a highly rated restaurant. While ordering, Ningbing thoughtfully chose some non-seafood dishes, because I don't eat seafood. Zhao Rongyu crossed her arms, looking back and forth between Ningbing and me, clicking her tongue. "Ningbing, you're so sweet." When the food arrived, I peeled some shrimp and pushed them over to her, pleading, "My mistake. Please forgive me. Forgive me." Zhao Rongyu popped a shrimp into her mouth, chewing fiercely, then gave a soft snort. I knew we were good. Beside her, Chun Hansheng was quietly peeling another shrimp for her, only to get a sharp glare. She said crossly, "You better not learn from Fang Yuan. I'm still mad at you." Looking at the dejected Chun Hansheng, I kept my head down, eating the food Ningbing put on my plate to keep from laughing. Afterward, Zhao Rongyu insisted on finding a seaside bar. Oh well, she was the boss tonight. She dragged Ningbing ahead, the two of them whispering about who knows what, while Chun Hansheng and I strolled leisurely behind. "So, are you sure this time?" I asked, staring at her back. He fell silent for a moment. "Yeah, I don't want to let go again." I sighed. "That's good." He smiled with relief. "What about you? You and Ningbing?" "What about us?" I asked, confused. "Ah, never mind." Then he changed the subject as we arrived. As soon as we sat down, we saw the place served alcohol. Zhao Rongyu ordered a drink for Ningbing, but insisted I drink with her. She even proposed a game, sitting on opposite ends of the bar to see who got hit on more. "Loser pays." I instinctively glanced at Ningbing, then at Chun Hansheng. Both of their faces had darkened. I refused. "No need to compete. I'll pay." Zhao Rongyu glanced at Chun Hansheng, getting upset. Was she still mad about this afternoon? I finally realized Zhao Rongyu was just finding ways to make Chun Hansheng miserable. Giving him an apologetic look, I had to agree. I picked up my glass and walked to the bar. Ningbing reached out to stop me, but Zhao Rongyu glared at her. I patted her hand to reassure her. She reluctantly let go. I listlessly dealt with the people hitting on me, while keeping an eye on Zhao Rongyu. She was downing drinks left and right, clearly getting drunk. Just as I was about to end this stupid game and go get her, Chun Hansheng suddenly stood up, strode over to her, and pulled her firmly into his arms, leaning down. The man in front of them stood up, blocking my view, but I heard gasps and wolf. Then the man slunk away. Chun Hansheng gave me a brief nod from afar and led her out. Relieved, I was about to find an excuse to brush off the persistent woman asking for my contact. "Info, brother, I'm taking you back." I looked up in surprise at Ningbing, who stood between us. This was the first time she'd called me brother. The interrupted woman looked annoyed, but hearing that word, she wasn't sure of our relationship. Still, she wouldn't give up. Just as I was about to speak, Ningbing quickly rattled off an ID and grabbed my hand and looked at me, her voice dropping. "Brother." I tilted my head past Ningbing and smiled apologetically at the woman. Feeling her grip on my wrist tighten, Ningbing felt a bit like a stranger tonight, carrying an intense, almost fierce aura. I obediently let her lead me away. Once we left, Ningbing let go of my hand, walking beside me with her head down, completely silent. The atmosphere was heavy. Feeling the sea breeze, my buzz began to fade. "That was your contact info you gave her, wasn't it? Don't do that again." Instead, she asked, "Did you want to give her yours?" I laughed. "Of course not. Even if you hadn't shown up, I had my ways of turning her down." Contact info is private. Don't just give yours out. But she said seriously, I will show up every single time. I was taken aback by her obsession. The kid had grown up, hiding thoughts I couldn't read. I didn't reply, just kept walking slowly back to the hotel. After a moment, Ningbing suddenly called out from behind, Fang Yuan. I turned around, smiling at her. The sea breeze stirred the hem of my clothes and her skirt. Under the glow of 1,000 lights, her eyes shone bright. With absolute determination, she spoke. My 18th birthday is coming up. Can I ask you for a wish then? Her intensity drifted to me on the wind, making me want to shrink back. I stared at her, trying to read the intention behind her words. The air fell silent for a few seconds. Finally, she looked away first. I lowered my eyes, hesitated, and said, We'll see. I didn't miss the flash of disappointment in her eyes. The next day, it wasn't until afternoon that Zhao Rongyu, arm in arm with Chunhan, finally showed up, seeing her fully geared up, completely covered, and even wearing a small neck scarf. I asked half knowingly, Are you planning to wear that to go surfing? Leaning on Chunhan Shang's shoulder, she murmured weakly, No energy today. I'll just watch you. Chunhan Shang looked completely satisfied and pleased. Gently massaging her waist, I instantly got it, giving him a thumbs up, which made Zhao Rongyu blush furiously and try to hit me. Laughing and joking, we made our way to the beach, which was packed with attractive people in swimwear. Ningbing couldn't swim, and Chunhan Shang had to stay with Zhao Rongyu. So in the end, I was the only one going in. I took off my tee. Hearing a clicking tongue, I turned. Zhao Rongyu sized me up, saying proudly as expected of the perfect body I praised. I applied my sunscreen, ignoring her, but she kept winking at me to look to the side. Ningbing was staring coldly at everyone around us, like a wolf pup protecting its food. I helplessly patted her shoulder. This is the beach. She stood right in front of me, cupping her face. I uncomfortably took half a step back, suddenly realizing she had grown taller again. Moved back a bit. She acted as if she didn't hear. In the next moment, under the dancing sunbeams, she picked up the white t-shirt I had just taken off and held it out to me. Put it on. The possessiveness in her voice was pushing boundaries, almost spilling over. I looked away, saying coldly, No need. But she wouldn't give up, looking up at me with pleading, watery eyes. Brother, put it on, please. I felt a nerve in my body twitch. Zhao Rongyu stepped in to smooth things over. Come on, Ningbing already brought it to you. Just put it on. Something about those words felt off. I glanced over. Seeing her smiling, Rongyu laughed it off, changing the subject. I grabbed my t-shirt, threw it on, and picked up my surfboard. Ignoring her teasing laughter and a certain someone's intense gaze, I strode toward the shore, only thinking about getting into the water. The thrill of surfing and the rush of catching a challenging wave are addictive. They make you overestimate your limits, always chasing bigger swells. That is why, after misjudging a wave's height, I got violently dragged down into the freezing water, feeling a wave of disappointment. Failed again. Surfacing, I saw Rongyu and the others running toward me, while Bai Ningbing was already waist-deep in the water. My heart skipped a beat. Scrambling onto my board, I sat up waving to show I was okay while paddling back. Once I hit the shore, Rongyu, eyes red, smacked my shoulder and yelled, Fang Yuan, how many times do I have to tell you? Stop chasing dangerous waves. You scared me to death. Using my full name meant she was actually furious. I gave an apologetic smile. My bad. Rongyu whirled on Ningbing, snapping, And you can't even swim. Why rush in? To save him or drown? Fortunately, Chunhan Shang pulled her back gently, comforting her, saying safety was all that mattered. Rongyu glared at Ningbing and me, huffed, None of you are any peace of mind, and dragged Han Shang away. Only then did I look at the silent girl standing next to me. Ning looked incredibly pale, lips pressed tight, chest heaving. After a long silence, her voice cracked, asking, Do you really, truly have nothing keeping you here? My heart jolted. I was stunned by both her raw sensitivity and intelligence. Just from that minor scare and Rongyu's words, she realized I felt unattached to life. That was why I was fearless during dangerous sports, unfazed by worst-case scenarios. In other words, I was always prepared to say goodbye to everyone. She was younger than me, yet under her gaze of heartache, disappointment, and fear, my unspoken thoughts were laid bare. My throat tightened, and my hanging hand clenched uselessly in the air before I dodged the question. Don't rush in like that next time, I whispered. I'm a strong swimmer. I know my limits. Her eyes widened in anger. She turned and walked away. This was the first time she had ever lost her temper. I stood there, speechless. Over the next few days, I couldn't cheer her up. I couldn't give her the answer. Rongyu was my best friend, safe with Han. I had already arranged my retirement with the nursing home and made sure money would be regularly. Everything was set. As for Ningbing, we were just temporary passengers on the same train of life. She would eventually spread her wings and fly. With her bright mind and talent, she would do wonderfully. When she asked if I had any attachments, I had an answer, but could not say it. Some truths only hurt. Despite her anger, she still joined me on outings, staying completely silent, as if deep in thought. On our last day we sat by the shore watching the sunset. Since Rongyu was whispering with Hanxing, I tactfully walked over to another reef. Ningbing followed, sitting quietly beside me, both of us watching the sinking sun. Waves crashed against the rocks under a gentle breeze. As the orange light dipped below the horizon, the girl turned to me. "Fang Yuan, when we get back, I want to learn to swim." Her words were incredibly serious. As dusk fell, I heard myself softly answer, "Okay." Shortly after summer break, it was Ningbing's birthday. I asked where she wanted to celebrate, but she shook her head and said at home with Rongyu and Hansheng would be fine. I never cared much for birthday celebrations, so I let her handle the details. But occasionally at the studio, I'd catch Rongyu making secretive phone calls, while back home, Ningbing would constantly stare her phone after class as if chatting with someone non-stop. I was puzzled but respected her privacy. On the afternoon of her birthday, Rongyu and Hansheng insisted on dragging me across the city to buy a specific cake. Only then did I realize they had been plotting something. But since it was her birthday, why was she in on it? Shouldn't we be the ones planning surprises for the birthday girl? By the time we returned, dusk had fallen. At our front door, Rongyu stopped me from ringing the bell, insisting I use my key. Unable to argue, I unlocked the door. The lights were off, but candles lined the hallway, stretching to the living room. Under the warm, flickering glow, Ningbing stood holding a bouquet of flowers, staring straight at me. I froze, caught completely off guard. Rongyu nudged me forward, smiling. "Go on, get in there." Suddenly, everything clicked, and my heart instantly sank. I turned around. "You two helped with this nonsense." Rangyu's smile faltered, and she tugged my arm. "Why so serious?" "Ningbing did this to tell you, Rongyu." I cut her off, my voice cold. Sensing the tension, Chun Hansheng stepped forward, pulling Rongyu back while shaking his head. I did not look back at Ning. Under the heavy silence, I couldn't stay. I just remembered some urgent work at the studio. "Go ahead and eat," I said, walking away. Hurried footsteps followed, and the lights flicked on. "Fang Yuan." Ningbing's voice trembled with panic. I stopped. "Today it is my birthday, so I just wanted to decorate the house, and the flowers there were just a promotion from the supermarket. I was just holding them when you walked in." Her voice trailed off. She was making excuses, lying to save face. Hansheng quickly stepped in to break the ice. "Work can wait. Let us all have dinner tonight and celebrate Ningbing's birthday." Sighing inwardly, I turned back to her. "Happy birthday." She breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly gathered the candles, murmuring, "Let me put these away." I made some crispy pork in the kitchen. An overwhelming weight settled on my chest. Dinner was suffocating. Rongyu was clearly annoyed and kept quiet, while Hansheng was naturally silent. Ningbing kept putting food onto my plate, but I gently moved it aside. Gradually she fell silent too. During the cake and wishing segment, while her eyes were closed for 30 seconds, I studied her face. Her features had matured, carrying a unique beauty between girlhood and womanhood. For a moment, I was dazed. I met her gaze as she opened her eyes, then quickly looked away. I pulled out my gift and handed it to her. "May your future be bright." It was a simple watch she had once admired at the mall. Her eyes lit up with joy, but that passionate gaze made me inexplicably anxious. After dinner, while Ningbing and Hansheng cleaned the kitchen, Rongyu and I sat on the balcony. She suddenly broke the silence. "You already knew, right?" I stared at the city lights and sighed. "She is still young. She doesn't know what she is doing." "She is an adult," Rongyu countered. "Her past made her mature. She knows what she wants." "But do you know your own heart? That watch tonight was not cheap, was it?" I smiled dismissively. "Just a watch." But Rongyu pressed on. "What are you afraid of?" Suddenly, I wanted a drink, but found my entire alcohol stash had been cleared out by Nick. She was really determined to make me quit drinking. Annoyed, Rongyu smacked my arm. "I am talking to you." I sighed. I helped her when she had no one. She is loyal, but she is just confusing gratitude. I am years older than her. Should I just let her mess up? She has a long future, a wider world to see, and more people to meet. She will realize how trivial this choice was. Besides, her mother was my friend. "You are both right and wrong," Rongyu said seriously. "You are only planning her future, dismissing her feelings just because you are older. You still see her as a child, completely unaware that her mind is actually more mature than yours. You are just a coward." I laughed in frustration. "Forget it. Just do not join her in this nonsense again." Rongyu turned away, huffing. "I am the one tired of talking to you. Your self-deception is pathetic. You will regret this." Saying goodbye at the door, she ignored me entirely but chatted warmly with Ning. Hansheng gave me an understanding, helpless smile as I waved goodbye and sent them on their way. The apartment suddenly fell silent. Feeling awkward, I headed for my room when Ningbing stopped me. "Fang Yuan, remember that wish from the beach? I know what I want now." Her words froze me on the spot, my nerves tensing. Ningbing stepped in front of me with a bright smile. "Do not be afraid." Amused by her cheekiness, I relaxed. I looked away, then turned back. She smiled warmly. I wish you a lifetime of peace, safety, and smooth sailing, and that all your wishes come true. What? I thought I misheard, but her serious expression proved otherwise. My heart fluttered as if brushed by a feather. Avoiding her eyes, I murmured, "That was your birthday wish, not mine." She looked down at the watch I gave her. "Time is ruthless," she said softly. "No matter how we chase it, our age gap is always there." But just now, I realized that asking time to stop is an unfair demand. Time waits for no one, but it gives everyone a chance. And you know, I am very patient. Her cryptic speech ended with a quiet, "I will wash the dishes now." She left me with that thought, and I couldn't sleep. The following days ticked by like clockwork. We never brought up that conversation again. Ningbing scored incredibly high on her college entrance exams, easily qualifying for her dream university. Yet, the night before submitting her choices, she told me she would apply to a local college instead. Confused, I asked patiently, "Didn't you want to go to the country's top law school? Your scores are perfect. Why change your mind?" She hesitated before whispering, "But that university is in another city." "So what?" I did not understand why the location mattered. She was not the irrational type. Then she looked at me, and in that single glance, I finally understood her fears. I turned my gaze toward the balcony window. Silent. Snowflakes drifted through the air as memories flashed in my mind. I turned to look at him, asking calmly, "Do you still remember what you said on your birthday last year?" His voice was raspy, but he whispered, "I remember." I smiled. "Good, as long as you remember. You are still young. You should go out and see a wider world. You will meet so many wonderful people, and you will realize you have other choices. Go explore, okay?" Ningbing's breathing turned shaky, but he remained silent. I quietly stepped closer and gently wrapped my arms around him. "Just listen to me this once, okay?" He seemed to cry, his voice trembling as he replied, "Okay, I promise I will go, but I will use time to show you my choice." The day Ningbing left for university, I did not go to the airport. Once again, my life returned to the quiet of being alone. Only now I found myself spacing out at home much more often. We kept in touch. He usually sent long, anxious voice notes detailing his new life, while I replied with just a few words. Shortly after his military training ended, it was his birthday. Without telling a soul, I booked a flight to his city. It was already dark when I arrived at his university. I had no intention of meeting him. He was wanted to see his campus. But then, I saw him walking out the gates, surrounded by classmates. They seemed to be his friends, playfully arguing. I blended into the crowd, watching him. Suddenly he froze and looked around. Before his eyes could meet mine, I slipped into a nearby alley. That night at 11:59 p.m. I got a message from him. "Today is my birthday." I watched the clock on my phone tick past midnight, turning to 12:01. The next morning at 10 a.m., I finally replied, "Happy birthday. I fell asleep last night." Ningbing did not push further and casually changed the subject. We fell into a silent, unspoken balance. Over his college breaks, Ningbing traveled to different places. He started a social media account to document his journeys. Most of his videos were of quiet scenery, but occasionally, a few young faces would make an appearance. They were likely his new friends. Yet, at the end of every clip, he would look into the camera alone and whisper, "I wish you were here." Soon, viewers started commenting that he must be in love. Zhao Rongyu screenshotted those comments and sent them to me. She teasingly added, "I wonder when a certain someone will finally take the hint." I did not reply. I just rewatched the video and saved it to my phone. By his junior year, Ningbing began working with his professors, providing legal aid to the visually impaired. His videos grew deeper, filled with diverse communities, mature insights, and thoughtful reflections. I watched him grow, step by step, into an independent and brilliant man. On the eve of his graduation, he posted a photo of the watch I had given him years ago. The caption read, "Time is not the answer, but the answer is hidden in time." Over 4 years, he had slowly revealed his final choice. Our mutual friends Yao Rongyu, Chen Hanxing, and Yang Lao all liked the post. Meanwhile, I visited his mother's grave. Leaning against her headstone, I quietly finished a bottle of wine without saying a single word. On his graduation day, I drove to his campus. This time, I stood right at the main gate and called him. It picked up on the very first ring. "Where are you?" he asked. Breathless and hopeful, I smiled. "I am at the front gate." The line fell silent, replaced by the rush of wind and heavy breathing. Minutes later, Ningbing came running into view. Seeing me, he let out a massive sigh of relief. He walked toward me, step by steady step. "I have something to say," he muttered, resolute yet shy. "I want to make us official." I looked into his eyes. "Okay." He froze, unable to process it, and blankly whispered, "What?" Suppressing a smile, I repeated my answer. I said, "Yes." The next instant, under the startled gazes of passing students, he threw himself into my arms, asking over and over, "Really? Are you serious?" Finally, I leaned down and silenced his frantic questions with a deep, quiet kiss. After we officially got together, Zhao Rongyu asked me why I finally gave in. I joked. He kept asking to make it official. He is my boy, so of course I have to spoil him. I gave him what he wanted. Zhao Rongyu rolled her eyes. Dr. Lei, I am being serious. My smile After a brief silence, I replied softly, I think I just decided to let myself be happy. Later, Ningbeng started his own law firm and successfully reclaimed his inheritance from those greedy relatives. He never detailed the struggle except one night, after working overtime for a month straight. He came home and held me tight. After a long, quiet pause, he whispered, "It is finally over." I raised my hand, gently patting his back. Another year flew by, and one afternoon, while we cleaned the bedroom, we stumbled upon my mother's old letter. I stood frozen. Seeing this, Ningbing gently asked, "Do you want me to read it with you?" I shook my head. He quietly slipped out, closing the door behind him. Sitting on the carpet, I took a deep breath and opened it. Inside it read, "My dearest Yuan, please do not carry the burden of the past between your father and me. You were born out of love, even though your father and I failed to let you grow up surrounded by it. Although so many terrible things happened, do not give up. Do not let the past chain you down, and do not carry hatred. Be happy, and live your life to the absolute fullest. I am not writing this to ask for forgiveness. I just want you to believe that you are worthy of love and someone out there will love you. I only regret that I couldn't watch you grow up, but remember, I love you forever." I folded the letter. Outside, the sunlight was beautiful. He finally agreed to be with me, though I know even now, he is secretly prepared for me to walk away at any moment. But I want to stay by his side, through every sunrise and sunset, forever. If you enjoyed this journey, please like and subscribe. We will keep bringing you more amazing stories and comics.